So when you're giving your morning announcements, I've told pupils that they're going to find it in their inbox and they need to check their inbox first thing in the morning. So if I go to inbox, I'm on student announcements, and down here, send a new announcement. I generally just used to put good morning, didn't need to type anything else there. And then if you add attachment, and this is where you can add a video that you've pre-recorded, or you can record a video live and put that straight in there. I'm not going to add one now. Then send that to all students by ticking the green link, and that will go straight to them all. Another way to send an announcement through the inbox is you can actually go to the ad and send an announcement, and that will take you to exactly the same place that I've just been to. If during your announcement in the morning you can mention 3 or 4 children from the previous day's work, it will probably make children listen to your announcement more readily because they'll be looking out for their name. Plus, if you do 3 or 4 children every day, over a couple of weeks you're going to hit the whole class, and it's just an extra way of getting that recognition out there, because when they're at home, they do it more than they do when they're in school. If you're most comfortable in using Active Inspire to make your normal lessons, then stick with that when using Seesaw and make all your teaching slides in Active Inspire. You're probably better off making content from scratch, particularly for home learning. However, you can also adapt old lessons that you've already made ready for Seesaw. Let's see how to do this. This is an old one from year 2 that I did on Active Inspire. So the first thing I need to do is adapt the lesson ready to go into Seesaw. So this bit was a game where the children are going to work in groups and find the best word to go on in the gaps, but I'll just get the children to brainstorm some words. So perhaps I'll add a text box and ask them to think of 3 alternative adjectives for each one. Then my next page was just going to read that as a class, so that's fine, I can get them to do that. That one again, I just want them to explain themselves, so I can leave that one as it is. This was going to read the text and work together to find all the connectives in there, so we can get them to do that independently. And then this page was sort of inspiration for them to write in their books, so this is the one that I'm going to need to change. They're going to need some space to work on this one. There, that's better for them to work on. So when I finish that, then I'm going to go to File at the top and then Export, and I want to export all the pages to JPEGs. Save them where you know where they're going to be. I'm going to put them in my downloads because then I'm going to be able to find them easily. So all the pages now have been exported to JPEGs, and I'm going to go into Seesaw to use them in my lesson. So in Seesaw, I've put the title with the date first, and then what it is we're doing in today's lesson. And then I've typed some brief instructions. Because this is a Year 2 video, I'm going to add these as a voice instruction as well. Watch through the pages of the video. Then I'd like you to try the activity. If on any page you need a reminder of what to do on that page, press the instructions button at the top of the activity and find the instructions for the page you're on. Have fun! Always add fun on it. Okay, so that's adding my voice command to that so that children can listen to those instructions. Then I'm going to add my teaching to the multimedia instructions or example. So, because I've just saved my slides from Active Inspire, I'm going to go to Upload and then select from my computer, go to Downloads where I've just saved them, and here are the ones that I've saved. Now, I can select each of those images, select them in the order that you want to use them, and then they will populate Seesaw in the correct order. So press the green tick, and each page will now have one of those pages as a background, and they're locked to the page. So now I'm going to do my teaching. Now, for this lesson, each activity sort of is a different activity. So I want to give the instructions as separate instructions for each page, because these are the same pages that I'm going to give to the children. And so I'm basically, each page of instructions will talk the children through that page. This will become clearer when I show you the new way of doing it in a minute. So I'm going to record the instructions for this page by using the mic.
Start recording. Hi guys, for the start of today's lesson, we're going to have a focus on some adjectives. So I've got 3 lovely pictures here, and I want you to think of the best adjectives you can to go in the blanks. Let's have a look at the first one.
This is where you can use your magic marker if you want to.
Pausing for breath, I gazed across the blank lake. I'd like you to think of 3 different adjectives and write them in this box that could go in that sentence. So you could have, pausing for breath, I gazed across the blue lake. And you can write or type the word blue in the box. And so on and so on. So I'll explain that activity really well, explain that they can't use the word blue, they've got to put their own, so you can put the most interesting ones, blah, blah, blah.
And then that page is done. So I'll press done. And I can now move on to my second page of teaching and do exactly the same for this. Explain to the children what I want them to do, maybe do a bit of an example. And then when I've finished, I'll press the green tick. And there is the video example, so the children can watch that through. Then I'm going to add a template for student responses. Now for this example, the template that the children are going to fill in is going to be exactly the same as what I've just gone through in my teaching. So they will have the same 5 slides, and they've got a little activity to do on each page. So I insert those into the children's template. I could just save it there for the children to do the activity. You could also add an extra video on each page. So if you thought that you've got some children who are going to struggle with this particular activity, you could record, go to video, and then record a live video of yourself explaining what they've got to do on that page. That video will then come onto the page, and you can shrink it into the corner, put a little text box underneath saying, see me for hints and tips or something like that. So you can insert videos directly into the activity. I'm not going to demonstrate that because I'm in my PJs. If I just go on to the second page, what you could do if you've got children who can't read, and you could use the caption button to read the text to them, and maybe put a little note again at the bottom, put a little tiny little text box just saying, tap here to listen to the text. So those children who can't read will be able to listen to what's on that page. So for the children's activity, I'm going to press the tick. So now I've completely made my activity. I've got my voice instructions, multimedia instructions for the children, which is our high quality video as depicted by the government, and the template for the children to fill in with extra help there for those children who need it. So I can save my activity, and then from my activity library, I can assign it to my class. So this is where I'm just going to demonstrate this. So if I click onto assign, and I'm going to do it to my 6E class, it's important to go through this step. So we need to edit the students. Obviously you can send it to your old class. You can just take out a couple of children if you want to and send them something separate, or maybe they're getting a huge amount of intervention for the day, or maybe you're going to just give them 3 pages and everybody else the whole lot, so you can just alter it and then reassign it. I'm going to assign it to the sample student, which is always good practice, especially when you're first starting out with Seesaw. The other important step is to go to folders and to put the activity into the folder that you want it to be in. So this is grammar, then press your tick. So now that is going to be assigned. I can go back to my class, and then if I go into my activities, here is the activity that I've just assigned. So the children can watch this video first, and it's important that they know to do this. So the first few days you're going to have to make it really clear that the video is there. Perhaps even put an emoji where you've put watch through the pages of the video, put a little emoji with an arrow pointing to the left so they know that's the video, because some children might not spot that, especially if you haven't done it in school. So we can watch that video. If I click on there, you can see you can watch that page, they can re-watch it, they can pause it as many times as they need to, and then go on to the next page. So there's pages to this video, and each page will have its own separate video. Obviously, I only recorded the first page. When they finish that, they then add response. They won't have to click on their name because they'll be logged in. And then once they're in the activity, everything you've put in that activity is there. If I'd done a caption, they'd be able to click on that. Hence, it's best to have a little note there so they know. And they can tap view instructions to go back to the instructions at any point. So if I was on page 5, which is where they've got to write sentences, then I can go back to the instructions, tap on the video, and navigate to page 5. I have talked about this in my video for children, which was included in yesterday's email. So they should, if they've watched the video, be able to do that. Another thing that children can do, another feature in Seesaw, is the draft button. So let's say they were halfway through it, they can save it as a draft. When they're writing, if they don't want to type it on here and write it on here, they can write it on a piece of paper, take a photograph and insert the photograph on there. So you might want to include that on your teaching to suit the children who are more comfortable writing on paper. So while I'm in Seesaw, I'd like to point out that it's really good practice to use the archive activity feature. So every few days or every week, just go through your old activities and delete them or archive them. I'm deleting that one because nobody's actually responded to it. But if I go back to an older one here, say maths homework, and I can now archive that activity. That means it just doesn't show up in the children's activity feed, so that if children haven't done an activity, their activity feed isn't clogged up. Parents did comment about this in the last lockdown, that some children felt overwhelmed by the amount of old activities because obviously didn't do all the can-do activities. Obviously this shouldn't be a problem this time because they're expected to do all activities, but still good habit to get into. Now I'm going to show you how to use PowerPoint to create your teaching slides. So here we have the slides I've just made in a PowerPoint ready for a lesson. And so I'm going to go to File, Export, and I want to export it as JPEGs. So change it to JPEGs down there. Doesn't matter what I call it, what's important is that you save it where you know it's going to go. So I can save them to my desktop, but I want to save them to my downloads. Okay. Save every slide and export. Now they're ready to go into Seesaw. So in Seesaw, I'll go to Create New Activity, give it a title. This is a different type of activity. These aren't the same slides as the children are going to be working on. So instead of doing a video for each slide, I'm going to create it into one video across all slides. So record.
Today we're going to use your senses to build up a fantastic description.
Then I'm going to talk about each of these senses as I would in the classroom. While it's still recording, I move to the next page.
It's a spooky forest. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to think about what you can touch, what you can smell, what you can hear, what you can see, and what you can taste.
Pause this video and discuss with somebody else in the household each of your 5 senses if you were in this forest. So I've paused the recording there so I can think about what I'm going to say and take a break. Okay, once I'm ready, I'll carry on recording.
Don't forget to use adjectives. Imagine a tree in that spooky forest. Pause this video and write down 5 adjectives to describe a tree. Okay, so then the children are going to pause their video. I paused my recording so I can think about what I want to do. If I were on an iPad, I could write on here. I'm not, I'm on my laptop, so I can put text in. The video is paused. Actually, I don't have to do that yet. First of all, I'm going to say, let's see what you've got and see if you've got any of the same adjectives as I did. So I'm going to pause it, I'm going to put text in, and I'm going to put in my adjectives. So I'm going to put it in. Okay, so when the video's playing, this will just appear. Twisted. And then another one. No. Gnarled. Don't rush when you're recording these because otherwise you probably only get half the word recorded. Dark. You get the idea. Go on to the next page. Actually, well done. Now let's see what we can use all our senses and descriptive words for. I'd like you to write your description.
And this is where I would do my modelled piece of writing. So I would model my description of that forest, and then that's the teaching done. The video itself is only a couple of minutes long. There's a flow to the lesson, so this really works well for recording over slides. So we'll pretend I've done my modelled writing there and type in done, press done, sorry. Okay. We don't need these pages now. There is absolutely no need to have these pages. So I can go through and delete each of the pages that made up the video. And that's the video for the children. Now this time, the template for the student's response, all I'm going to put on there is exactly the same picture from my PowerPoint of the gnarly tree. So I will open a template, go to the drawing board. I just want one page, makes it easier for marking. I'm going to put on a background. Obviously the children can change that if they want, but I don't want them to do it on a white background. Then I will upload the image. I haven't actually got that because it's an old PowerPoint. Put the image here and your title, and then the children have got the page to go on, piece of writing. I would also probably give them the option of writing it on paper and uploading a photograph, but make sure if they're uploading a photograph that you give them instructions so that you can see the text and it's not taken from an angle. Simple as that. There's another activity done. Obviously, we're still following Power Maths, but as you would in school, add extra bits within the teaching within Power Maths to ensure that all pupils get there. You know what your pupils need. There's various ways of going about teaching your maths lessons. I'll go through a few in today's videos, but make sure you use your own ideas as well as. So let's have a quick look then at how to use the Power Maths website to help you with this. So I'm going to go to planning and go to the year group. I'll just go to year 3 and then choose a unit and then go to the teacher guide. Once you're in the teacher guide, you'll be able to scroll down to the lesson that you're teaching. So here's my lesson, and what you need to do is just take a screenshot or use your snipping tool if you're on a PC and take a screenshot of all the bits that you're going to need for your lesson. By the way, on an iPad, the best way to screenshot them would be to turn it portrait and have them fill the screen. But I'm not doing it that way because it doesn't work particularly well on the video. So continue to screenshot the questions. Once you've got them all, then you're going to use those to create your lesson. So on an iPad, you'll go to Keynote, starting with a blank presentation. Then just add the photos. So add a photo and add them in the order. So obviously we need the Discover. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this for my teaching. So I'm going to put this over here. And I'm also going to use the share for my teaching, although there's a lot on that page. So I'm going to double tap and use the tool to get rid of half of it. And then I'm going to put the second half of the same page on the next page. Then
What we did last year is you might want to give these ones to the children to do, or you might want to include these in your teaching. Depends very much on the activity. I'm going to give them to the children to do. So if you're giving this as a task for a child to do, I tend to take the numbers off because otherwise they just get a bit confused because it's not starting at question 1. Make it fill the screen so they've got plenty of room to write. Don't forget when you're working that the tools on Seesaw will be down the side, along the bottom and down the side, so you don't want anything there. So there's that one. Make it as big as you can on the screen. And then the next page, you get the idea. I won't put that whole thing on, so I will just put the first half on one sheet and the second half on the next sheet. And again, make it as big as you can, just making sure there's a little gap around the edges for the tools in Seesaw. Once I've done that, I'm going to export all 2 images and export and save those 6 images. So those are now my camera roll. And then I'm going to go to Seesaw and I'm going to add a new post. Okay, so I've got my date and I'm now going to do my instructions. So for this lesson, I've decided that they don't need help with each page. So I am just going to upload for the multimedia example. So this is my teaching part. And I'm going to find the discover and the share activities, which were those 2. So I'm going to press add more at the bottom down there, and then I'm going to tap the discover one and the share one. I think that was actually one as well. So for my teaching part of the lesson, I've now got these. So this is where an iPad and a pen comes into its own. So we want to make a video for the children, so we're going to use the mic tool. And while you're talking on the mic, the screen will actually record everything you do. Obviously, you can read the questions out, you can discuss what you can see in the picture. I like to use the magic marker, and if you tap it twice and turn it thin, then that's quite useful. So you can use the pencil, perhaps make it a little bit thicker in a colour that you're going to be able to see, and then record. And whilst you're talking, you can be modelling the answer to the question. You might tell the children to pause the video and have a go, and then play the video again, and then model a little bit more.
So press the green tick to save the activity.
Here, I've mentioned this in another video somewhere, I'm just going to add a little arrow so they know where the video is, especially for the first few days. Right, now I'm going to add a template for student responses, and I'm going to upload, and this is going to be the children's work. So there, remember to press add more, and then 1, 2, 3. I only did 3, you will have more than 3 sheets for the children to work on. And as you can see, because I've done them already on Keynote, they're nicely positioned for the children to just fill in. I can add an extra page, and I can create an open-ended challenge on that last page to let them practice their skills further. So when I've finished, I will press the green tick, assign it to the maths folder, and send it to the pupils. So when the children see it, they will be able to see that you want them to watch this video, and they need to watch that before they respond to the activity. So that was a teaching video using just the Discover and the Share portions of Power Maths, and then they're just doing the activity. A lot of the time in Power Maths, last year particularly, I found that that wasn't going to be enough. So in my teaching video, I also included the pages that the children were going to do, and I talked through them and explained what they needed to do on each page. But you'll see that when you see the extra videos later on.
Don't feel you've got to rigidly stick to the Power Maths questions that are in the teacher guide. You might be able to find a better alternative on White Rose or another resources website. Here's an example of that. This is a lesson on division and related facts. So it started off with a bit of revision from the multiplication that we've been doing earlier in the week as a warm-up. Then I moved on to using some of the Power Maths resources to introduce the idea using images from the Discover and the Share.
followed by some extra practice using off a different website to reinforce what we've just been learning about, moving that on again, taking a challenge from Power Maths, so moving them on again, and then a different activity again. You can see that's not from Power Maths, that's off a website, and then an activity out of the Power Maths book. So each page is progressively getting a little bit harder, using the basis of Power Maths, but putting in my own things to support and challenge where I feel it's needed.
So here I am in Seesaw, creating a new activity. I've already put my activity name in with the date, and then I'm going to click on Add Template for Student Responses. So I'll go onto that one, and then I'm going to upload the screenshots of the keynote that I've just made. You could do the same in PowerPoint, you just have to use print screen to save a photograph of the screen for each slide. So you can see there are all my slides. I'm going to click on Add More at the bottom. And then I'm going to click on them in order. So that was my first, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and tick. And then that will create one slide on each page in Seesaw. So there's my first page. I don't need to put anything on any of these. If this were a sorting activity, so I'd got numbers that I wanted the children to move into each box, then I'd just use the text option and put the numbers at the top of the page or along the bottom of the page for the children to move. Or if it were a greater than, less than, and you wanted to have the greater than, less than signs there for them to drag, then you could put those on and they'd be able to drag them. The reason I'm using an image from Keynote is when the children touch any of this, they can't change any of it. It's immovable and they can only write or type over the top of it. So those are my pages in there. So I'm going to press the green tick. I'm happy with all of those. I don't need to add anything. And then I'm going to make my multimedia instructions as well as. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to go to upload and I'm going to put in exactly the same photos that I've just put in. So again, I'm going to go to add more and then it's 1, 2, 3, oops, missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and press the green tick. So now these are my multimedia instructions. So this is where I'm going to talk to the children on each page. And to do that, I'm going to use the microphone and record my voice explaining to the children what to do. Then I'll go to the second page and I'll do the same. And I'll explain to them that I want them to put their results over here. On this one, I'll probably do the first one as an example and let them have a go at the rest. On this page, again, just briefly show them that this one's related to this one, just to help them out. What I'll do is I'll send you a link to this activity so you can see the finished activity once I've done all my recordings. Hope this is useful.
While the children are at home, you've got a great opportunity to mix it up a bit and use real life application to help embed their learning, like getting them to make a shop. Last year we had a child selling cuddles for different prices, using items at home to do their maths, creating how-to videos. There's some great examples in the video at the end of this presentation as well. So don't feel you've got to stick to children doing maths on screen.
Way of differentiating. If I open the activity that I've just made and go to copy and edit activity, so making an extra copy of this activity now, I might have 3 children in my class who there's no way in the world are they going to access the whole thing. So I'm going to get them to do the revision, the introduction, practice and that. So I don't want them to do these pages, so delete them. Then save the template. Do exactly the same on the example because they're not going to need the teaching example for those last 3 pages. And then just save it with a 1 star at the end, and I now have an activity suitable for the children that I know are going to get extra intervention from an activity made which might be on basic number skills or something related to this. I can do exactly the same. So if I go back to my library, I could delete the last page only perhaps and give that out to the majority of the class. I could also perhaps delete the revision page and give that out to my hires, or even just add an open-ended challenge on the end if I know there's a couple of children who just want that little bit more. And that's your 3-star activity. If you've made an activity, you can assign it to both classes in your year group, or you can share it with your fellow teacher and they can make any adjustments if they want to. So to do that, just click on the 3 dots and then share activity. You can do this in a variety of ways. So you can get the teacher link, copy it and pop it in an email with a message to the teacher, or you can just select the teacher from the list of teachers in there and email that link directly to your teammate. Or you can share it to the school library where it will be saved in the library for future use and the other teacher will be able to find it as long as they know that you put it in there. I'm going to do that now so that if you wanted to have a look at the slides I'd done, you can have a closer look at it. So in the school library, it was a year 3 activity and it's obviously maths. So then press share. That has gone to the school library. And so then if I go back to my interface, if I go to school, this is where I can find that activity. The activities I put in the other day are still there as well as, but then if I'm looking for 3rd grade maths, then that narrows it down to just the maths activity I've got in there. This is also a good time to say that if you go onto the community, there's loads of activities already made which other schools have used and shared. The one big thing I would point out about these, if you're going to use them though, is to save them and edit them and redo any voiceovers because most of them are American. So check spellings as well on them, but dip into these if you find those useful to supplement the ones that you're making.
Intervention tasks might be working towards PLP targets, or they might be to support work that's happening in class that week. Teachers will liaise with TAs over what needs to be taught in a particular week and when. And there's a variety of ways of doing tasks, and you can even use some of the ideas from my Making Seesaw Exciting video earlier this week. Here's an example of one way to do an activity.
So to create an intervention activity, pop in your title with the date at the front, give them a little message to the child or group of children. Definitely add voice instructions so they get to hear those instructions as well as read them. Probably wouldn't bother with a multimedia example for intervention work, so just go straight to add template and we're going to give them a little game to play followed by an activity to do. So first thing, first thing we're going to do is find an interactive game on the internet. So a really good website for this is Top Marks. Lots of games for maths and English. So I'm looking for one from number bonds to 20. Straight away, first one on the list, one there. So I'm going to open that because this is the page I want the children to go to. Don't use the QR code because they'd need a separate device to scan it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that lovely little Chrome shortcut that we looked at on Monday. Tap on there, capture selected area, and I'm just going to take the picture of the robots because that will be a nice button for them to click on. That will go straight into my Seesaw activity. All I'll need to do then is to resize it. Then I'd probably, you could type instructions, you could do a caption for instructions. Don't use the mic and record because then the children won't be able to click on the button. But what you could do, and this is probably what I'd do for intervention work, is to just go to video and record a little selfie video of yourself, pop it in here, and so they can play the video where you'll say, click on the picture to play the game. I want you to click on the red robot because we're doing number bonds to 20. Something like that. Then add your next page, and then I'm not going to change the background colour here because I'm just going to copy a worksheet. So go to Twinkle or any other website. I've managed to find this one for number 1 to 20. So you can take a screenshot or use a snipping tool or print screen to get an image of that, and then upload that. And there's the work for them to do. With the image, lock it to the background. If the worksheet you're getting your images from is portrait, then probably best to do it over 2 pages and take the top half of the image on the first page and the bottom half of the image on the second page. Then assign it, and just assign it. Put it in the intervention folder, so you could put it in maths and the intervention folder, and then go to students and just select the children that you want to give it to.
So I'm going to leave you with a short video of some of the successes from last year's lockdown, and also parent comments about what they thought about our home learning.
What was your favourite book to read at school?
I really like reading books when I was at school.
Oh yeah, so exciting.
I know, it's like living a different life, isn't it? Or finding a different adventure to go on all the time.
Yeah.
I really like Roald Dahl books.
Yeah, just talking of Roald Dahl books, we've got some Roald Dahl books and one at school. Fantastic Mr. Fox that we finished.
I know.
Hey, I, K, K, L, L, R, O.
You'll probably think to yourself, what are you talking about, Mr. Chapman? Subtracting fractions from a whole. Watch this video and then I'll see you again in a minute.
They hadn't gone far when they spotted some geese. Oh geese, would you give us a feather apiece? You can come to our wedding, the best wedding yet, the wedding that no one will ever forget. We will hunt the geese, and they each gave a feather. A spider friend offered to sew them together.
Songs, you just need to put them both together at the same time. Are we ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, I wanna sing, sing, sing. I wanna dance, dance, dance. I wanna sing, I wanna dance. Hallelujah. When the gates are open wide, I'll be standing by your side. I wanna sing, I wanna dance. Hallelujah.
Centipede, a millipede, a snail shell that we found. We found
Hey there! Unfortunately, Unfortunately, Mrs. Malcolm couldn't make it this morning. She'll be back later to look at your activities.
As it's Egyptian Day, I've set you some interesting challenges like mummifying fruit, taking a photo of yourself next to a pyramid, and writing your own name in hieroglyphics.
And then you've got your can-dos up there. First of all, Mrs. Moore has set you some nutrition work for science.
Good morning, guys. Coming to you live this morning from my Hogwarts house.
Florence Nightingale was the first nurse. She went to Turkey to heal the hurt. At the time of the Crimean War, Florence cleaned and mopped the floor. Thank you, Florence, for being so brave. Have a medal for the help you gave.
Hi, I have made my own challenge for you. I was digging in my garden and I found this piece of metal. Does anybody know what it is? Have a guess, or if you know what it is, write it in the comments. I think I know what it is, but I'm not going to give you any clues.
Hope you enjoy my tune with the decimals, percentages and fractions.
Been learning all my maths skills.
Yo, it's early, they call me Mr. V. This song going out to Mr. G. Hey to all my homies in 5G. Let me tell you what I'm learning and you worship me. I've been hanging with my mama, learning about maths. So listen up, mother, just kiss my boop.
Been learning all my maths skills. I've been learning all my maths skills.
I've been doing my work, add, subtract, divide. I'm making these lips to watch them collide. I'm liaising with my teachers through Seesaw. I don't want no work, but they're sending me more. I've done some drawing, even though it's bad. Don't be sending no work, cause it's making me sad.
I've been working on my math skills. 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 Hey, big up, big out!
Yeah, this Seesaw business is sick in it.
Hey, hey, hey.